Hello, you beautiful individuals. We are back after quite some time, and shocker, shocker, we're looking at Ken Hovind again. Mr. Definitely Not a Doctor, Ken Hovind, that is. Also known as the human personification of a Alka-Seltzer tab. Man who lives opposite of Lotus's model, which is simplify and add lightness, and instead complicates and adds heavy amounts of stupidity, just like we're about to hear today. Because apparently, this is Kent Hovind versus Bill Nye, an intellectual smackdown. It's on Matt Powell's channel because, of course, Kent Hovind basically doesn't have a channel anymore. Or, I mean, maybe kind of does, but his, channel is gone. But anyway, let's dive right in.
Once in a while, I get people that claim they don't believe in evolution. And my response generally is, why not? Really, why not?
Either because they're like Kent Hovind and they're ignorant, or they are somebody who unfortunately, fell prey to Kent Hovind's lies and misinformation.
You guys believe 20 billion years ago there was a big bang where nothing exploded and produced everything. 4.6 billion years ago the earth cooled down, made a hard rocky crust. It rained on the rocks for millions of years, turned them into soup, and the soup came alive 3 billion years ago. Found somebody to marry.
Found somebody to marry. I mean, all of that was ignorant, but found somebody to marry. I know he's just trying to be, cute and funny or whatever, but come on. Really?
And something to eat, of course, and slowly evolved into everything we see today. There are some lies in our science books.
Lies? That's lies, apparently, but some magic being coming down and snapping his finger, creating two people out of dust and all the other beings and animals all at once within 6,000 years. But okay, not even within 6,000 years, actually, sorry. 6,000 years ago, give or take, within 6 days. And then somehow all of the creatures that we have evidence for that have been alive, going back to not only dinosaurs, but pre-dinosaurs, single-celled organisms and whatnot. All of that, plant life, everything, all of that took place within 6,000 years. That's not crazy. But science, that's crazy. Whew.
Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like to study. It's so many neat things to learn.
You never studied anything. You studied the Bible maybe, but you never studied science. You just take what you've heard at a face value coming from a place of ignorance, not intellect, and then you twist it and make it, lie about it, actually. And the worst part is, you don't even go with, you don't study actual, peer-reviewed papers or lectures or anything like that. You go with the most basic and layman term version of these ideas and theories and discoveries and just lie about them, basically. Misrepresent them. The whole coming from nothing and the explosion of the Big Bang and all that nonsense. Anyway, hold on. Let's try to get through some of this.
We're going to cover some of that tonight. I'm not against science. I'm not against schools. I'm not against teachers. Because most of them don't know what they believe. You have to tell them.
No. They do know what they believe. You don't know what you believe. Especially when it comes to science. You might know what you believe when it comes to the Bible, but even that, you don't know. You definitely don't know what you believe. You have faith in this book that's been translated and misinterpreted over millennia. And you don't even believe, you go off of, from what I've learned from listening to him way too many times, the King James Version of the Bible, which, whatever, I don't care what Bible you go off of, but you can't take that as any kind of scientific text or even historical text. Not saying that there's nothing in the Bible that, I'm not saying there isn't things in the Bible that aren't, maybe true or at least based in some form of truth, but it's not. I mean, those are few and far between. And even when they are, I mean, it can be interpreted 1,000 different ways, and usually is. I mean, you nitpick verses and chapters and nitpick interpretations to fit your narrative, so you can spread more misinformation and lies. But that's the great thing about science. I mean, when science is wrong, it's wrong, and it evolves into something that's more correct. And even when science is quote unquote wrong, it's not normally just flat out wrong. I mean, it's normally a part of what they thought was wrong, so they have to go back and amend it. Where the Bible, you just don't do that. I mean, you just go off the same thing for over and over and over again, and have a lot of history of wars and death and genocide over this stupid book.
They teach the kids it all started with a Big Bang 20 billion years ago.
13.8 billion, but whatever. And never mind.
What exploded? This is what the textbooks teach.
Before the Big Bang, there was nothing, literally nothing, an infinitesimal nugget of space. And then something happened, triggering the most colossal explosion in history.
You know why it says that? Oh, great. There's an ad. 1 second. Okay. Back from the whatever ad that was. Anyway, the thing is, it's not this that they're showing. I mean, this is clearly a dramatized version, and also a very simplified version of what happened, because it's meant to be on TV for, as many people as possible to see, but more importantly, for as many people as possible to understand. So no, it's not going to go in the mechanics of everything, and even if it was, it's probably going to do that later on in the video. I mean, I haven't seen this particular, National Geographic, whatever this was, but it's like, dude, it's meant to captivate, and draw you in. So it's going to be a little exciting, hence the music and, yes, the very simplified explanation of what happened. We can't technically say there was nothing. We don't know. That's a fair, assessment, a fair theory, but we don't know it. And yes, guess what? It technically could have been some big magic space daddy that snapped everything to begin, but it doesn't mean he was here and in 6 days created everything. It doesn't mean he or she or whatever it is comes and pokes around in our world and, created two people out of dust and all that nonsense. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you want to take the Bible as literal, but I'm sorry, that has no more bearing than, the whole ancient alien theory stuff. Like, I think that's, quite frankly, a little ridiculous too, but honestly, at least that makes a little more sense than some magic space deity that no one has any evidence of existing whatsoever. I mean, not that we do for ancient aliens, but at least we know we exist, and it's definitely logical to presume that there could be other intelligent beings in the universe that exist and have existed, and maybe technically they could have done something here, but still a little outlandish to me, but whatever. Whether you believe that or God or some past smart civilization that was here and, we lost the history of time, there's no basis with evidence. I mean, there's no, you can't just say that and then provide nothing. And still, I mean, at least at the, the core of the whole, like, ancient alien or, intelligent, whatever, advanced civilization that predates us and has been lost to history, at least that has, I guess, a form of logic to it, because, we're here, Like, we know humans exist. We know intelligent, well, as intelligent as you can call humans, um, live on this earth and can do some amazing things. But some magic deity that created everything in 6 days and did all this 6,000 years ago, that's just not logical. It's not even logical to somehow say that all these creatures have lived within the past 6,000 years. I mean, we have structures on this earth that are as old, if not older than that. So that's whatever. Anyway, let's keep going.
Yes, boys and girls, you see, nothing exploded, and here we are. So I asked this professor if I could ask him some questions about the Big Bang. I said, where did all this matter come from? He said, well, we don't know that for sure. I said, well, sir, would you please tell me where the laws came from? The universe is run by laws: gravity, centrifugal force, inertia. Who gave the laws? He said, we don't know that either. I said, sir, could you tell me where the energy came from? You know, it takes energy to make a Big Bang. Who bought the gas to run this machine anyway? He said,
Now, I don't know when this is from, and not that it really matters because he still spews all this nonsense, but, the general, at least simplified version of the theory is that everything was in a very hot and dense state, basically coming from a single point. That's not nothing, and might not be something that satisfies his small intellect, but it's what we got right now. And I'm sorry, but at least there's evidence behind that, which once again, when it comes to some magic being doing it all, there's none. I mean, not even a shred, not even a speck of evidence.
He said, we don't know that either. I said, sir, could I ask you another question? He said, sure. What else would you like to know? What else?
Ha 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 ha. The worst part about that is all of this can be twisted around right back at you. I mean, where did God come from? Where did this, when did he come down and, I guess, have humans write his book for him? And which book is it? I mean, obviously they go with the whole Christian-based religion, but that's not the oldest one. There's religions that are far older. So, I mean, why aren't those ones correct? Why is your God correct when those aren't? If you had any kind of, evidence or even at least some form of theory that tried to explain something, but you don't. You have a poetic book that tells a bunch of stories. I mean, it's no different. I mean, to say this is real. I mean, why is it any crazier to say that the world of Harry Potter is real? I mean, it's in a book, and I know that's a ridiculous argument, but it's the same thing. They're books. They're just stories.
What do you mean else? You haven't told me nothing yet. I said, does Berkeley have a merry-go-round? You see, if a spinning object breaks apart in a frictionless environment, the fragments will all spin the same direction. The professor said, yes, I understand about the conservation of angular momentum. I said, well, good. I'd like to ask you a question then, sir. If the whole universe began as a swirling dot, like you said, why do two planets spin backwards?
See, that's just... Okay. For one, planets, I mean, it's not like planets shot out of the Big Bang. That's a weird way to put it, but, planets took quite some time to form, buddy. And a lot of things can happen to a planet. And some of them actually, that are supposedly spinning the wrong way aren't. Actually, they're just, their poles are flipped and but man, it's just, I get he goes for these, statements to either be funny or whatever, but it's just, oh my God, I forgot how painful this nonsense is to listen to and even try to respond to, because it's just so outrageous. I mean, you're talking about from one point, 13.8 billion years ago, when everything started to expand, to planets forming. I mean, that is a huge jump. It's not, those things didn't just coincide within the same period of time. They didn't coincide, boom. It wasn't like Big Bang and all of a sudden, here we go, planets, and some of them are spinning this way and some of them are spinning this way. And, never mind, sorry. Oh, man, we're only 2 minutes in.
He said, that's interesting. Said, no, that's more than interesting. It's kind of hard on your Big Bang Theory. Not only that, 6 of the moons are spinning backwards. Why? He said, I don't know. Why do you think they're going backwards?
Man, I mean, I don't know who he talked to. I either highly doubt he said, I don't know, or it's just not his area of expertise, if he even was an expert, if this even person ever actually existed. I mean, it's Kent Hovind. The dude lies about everything, so I honestly highly doubt he even had this, this conversation. And, I'm not obviously an expert in anything. As I've said, I'm an idiot. But, Uranus, for example, I mean, it was believed to have some form of collision that essentially knocked its axis, knocked it for a loop. And now it's technically, you could say it's spinning backwards, but it's not. It's spinning in the same direction. It's just, flipped. And then, and I don't know for each individual moon and whatever, but chances are there was something that happened to them that either within their formation that they started spinning that way, or after they were formed, and that's why they, spin that way now. Again, I'm not an expert. I could look up every single, whatever, moon and planet that they name and try to find an explanation, but that's what's the point? I mean, it's not like that would ever change his mind or do anything, really. I mean, especially this is clearly from a long time ago. It's just crazy, hearing it from this long ago, because it's like his talking points and everything has not changed at all. And that's true with the Bible as well. I mean, it hasn't, it's the same crap and see, science just isn't like that. I mean, science, it learns from its mistakes and, tries to better explain what it couldn't before. And it'll continue to do that. And religion in general won't. And I'm not, again, this isn't an attack on religion. Religion can be a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, there's humans like Ken Hovind and Matt Powell who make it an ugly thing.
I was hoping he was going to ask that. I said, okay, now, sir, hold it. If I told you that I believe God created the heaven and the earth like the Bible teaches, you're going to say, and where did God come from? And I don't know. But you said, well, we don't know that for sure. We don't know that either. Don't tell me my theory is religious and yours is science. Oh, no, sir, they're both religious.
No, they're not at all. Oh, that's cute. That's supposed to be, what, the Big Bang? No, the difference is there's actual, there's not only evidence, but there's people, real people, who study this, who dedicate their lives to this, to better explain it. And that's not going to stop. Whereas religion, it's just people reiterating the same nonsense. And even after all the genocide and wars and mass killings, and that's just, that part. I mean, all the other horrible things that have come from religion. I mean, come on, man, the Catholic Church and their allegations. But man, really wish I would have got a drink for this.
Evolution is a religion. You have to believe. So I asked the professor, where did the matter come from? He said, I don't know. So basically, I believe in the beginning God, and you believe in the beginning dirt.
Really? Dirt? No, that's what's the point? It's obviously not it's not what anyone that has half a brain cell believes, but apparently Hovind here doesn't even have half a brain cell.
One professor was getting kind of upset about this time. He said, Mr. Hovind, there are hundreds of varieties of dogs in the world. He said, you mean to tell me that you believe all these dogs came from 2 dogs off of Noah's Ark? You expect me to believe that? I said, sir, would you look at what you're teaching your students? You're teaching your students that all the dogs in the world came from a rock.
Charles Darwin was disciplined. I mean, he did these extraordinary experiments, this series of experiments.
Then they're going to tell the kids, well, we have evidence for this theory. Charlie Darwin stopped off at these islands right there called the Galapagos Islands. Charlie studied the birds very carefully and said, you know what? I think all these birds had a common ancestor. I bet you're right, Charlie. It was a bird. You see 14 kinds of birds, and you conclude that birds and bananas are related.
And no, that's not what happened. And it's not just about Darwin. He's not the only human that's ever studied this or looked into it. I mean, what, you always go back to Darwin. And oh my God, this dude. So it makes more sense that some dude built a boat because he heard a voice or whatever that told him to. And all the animals we have today come from that boat. That's nonsense, but if you really go into detail about the boat, I mean, that story changes a lot. Like, they can't even decide how many animals would have been on there because nobody actually looks into it. They just, spew this nonsense. The thing is, with evolution is you act like all of a sudden you had a rock, as you say, which is ignorant enough, and then boom, all these animals. Like, no, this crap took a long time. And I know Hovind is in his nonsense with, oh, you always go back to time, and it's like, it's how it is. It's not that I always go back to it or that people always go back to it. It's just that's what happened. And oh my God, how are we only 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in? Not even. I'm never gonna get through this. Why can't I ever just get through a video? I need to keep my mouth shut for a bit.
This is why I stopped.
Man, these ads.
Ancient dinosaur bones or fossils?
They tell the kids they have evidence of evolution from fossils. I don't think so. If you find a fossil in the dirt, all you know is it died. You don't know that it had any kids. And you sure don't know that it had different kids. You bring in a bone to the judge. Judge, I found this bone in the dirt. This is the ancestor of all the humans today. They would laugh at you. You don't know that that's the ancestor of anybody.
That's because it's not what people say. And the fossils or whatever, the creatures that created the fossils didn't technically need to have kids. It just shows that there was a life form, and that you can presume that life form, that there was others like it, because that's logical. I mean, think about it. If you find a human in the ground, dead, obviously, did he or she need to have kids to prove that there's more humans? Obviously not, because there is humans today. But it's the same premise. And again, science doesn't rely on the law or whatever. Like, it's not. This isn't a legal battle. We don't need to convince a judge. This is consensus by countless scientists and intellectual minds that have dedicated, years upon years, decades, centuries into studying and forming these theories and coming up with explanations that not only help us understand the world and how it works and our place in it, but more importantly, help our civilization move forward. If people only relied on the Bible, we would have never done what we've done today. We would have never made it into space. We would have never had all these unbelievable technological advances. I would never be speaking to however many people decide to watch this on the internet. There wouldn't be an internet. There wouldn't be, light bulbs, let alone computers and everything else. Oh my God, this dude.
And why on earth would you think a bone in the dirt can do something animals today cannot do? They'll say, boys and girls, you have two bones in your wrist, radius and ulna. And boys and girls, look at the whale's flipper carefully. Did you know the whale has two bones in his flipper? And they're called the radius and the ulna? Same as ours. Wow. Who named them, teacher? The whale?
No, but you can obviously see from that there's not only similarities, but that those similarities should be looked at and tried to be understood. And that there's not just the whale, it's the creatures that predate the whale. And it's not saying that, us and whales, like, I shouldn't say we didn't come from the same thing, because obviously you go back far enough, we did. But at some point, clearly, there was something in our ancestral past. And I say this "our" as like life forms on Earth that led to this division and this, you know, this mass like collection of life on this earth that shows that it's related in some way. And not only that, you have DNA and anyway, sorry. I'm never, I don't know, I'm only gonna give this like a couple more minutes, if that.
Think about it.
I'm here to tell my people it's time to stop believing bull just because I tell you bull with a straight look on their face. Evolution say people came from monkeys, and the question is, why is there still monkeys? Is these the retarded monkeys? They didn't turn into people just yet.
Even Stephen Gould.
Now, Cat Williams, absolutely hilarious. Love him. But come on. I mean, for one, if you're gonna show him, like, why you gotta censor him? Like, let it be even funnier. But anyway, it's and again, we didn't say we come from monkeys. We say we have a common ancestor with them. That's not the same thing. And why are there monkeys today? Because that common ancestor that we have at some point branched off and those monkeys formed alongside us. It didn't happen overnight, of course. But, you know, whatever, I digress.
Gould admitted the absence of fossil evidence for intermediary stages is a persistent and nagging problem for evolution. See, what's happened, these guys have looked for missing links in the fossil record. They can't find any, and so they say, well, maybe evolution happened so fast it wasn't preserved.
No, no. For one, fossils, and they're not the most common thing. Like, it does take, you know, rather specific scenarios for them to form. But more importantly, and I understand this video was from obviously quite a long time ago, because, you know, Hovind's, what, at least 20, 30 years younger in this video. And we've learned some more from that point, but we knew enough back then for him to not be this ignorant. We might not have all these missing links, but we find more, and we will continue to find more. Like, it's just, science isn't just a, you know, thing that happens overnight. It takes time. It takes people dedicating their lives to it, and they do. And the issue with this kind of nonsense is you're going to turn people away from that. You're going to turn people away from helping advance our civilization and our society into something even greater than it is today. Because you want to be stuck in a book, a fairy tale.
Maybe a reptile laid an egg and a bird hatched out. Well, who did that bird marry?
Why does he keep saying marry? What is your deal with that? You realize things like even humans, they can have babies without being married. I know that's probably a crazy idea for you there, buddy, but come on.
This process that brought us to be is billions of years old. It happens very fast, billions of years fast. Here is radioactivity.
We're going to tell the kids in the late 1940s they invented carbon dating. We're going to explain a little bit about radiometric dating and how it's supposed to work, and then show you that.
Okay, I just can't. Maybe I'll come back to this one. I doubt it, though. Honestly, I mean, it's the same nonsense he says, but I would rather find a slightly more modern video of his. Man, it just shows you their lies, too. Like, you can't even... I mean, putting this as Kent Hovind versus Bill Nye, like, you clearly... I mean, you make it sound like, you know, they were actually in some form of debate or whatever, but it's obviously not. It's just, I guess, fun editing and doing your best to make your dude look like he knows what he's talking about, and to make Bill Nye look like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And look, Bill Nye is not an expert in this field of science. He's not an expert in evolution or the Big Bang or whatever, but it's definitely more of an expert than Mr. Definitely Not a Doctor Ken Hovind. Anyway, I'm done with this for now. But Anyway, thanks for watching, and I do have more videos coming finally. It might not be, it's going to take a bit here for me to get on a more regular schedule, but it won't be months and months on end, that's for sure. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense, and until next time.